Welcome back, fight fans. We're back again, and wow, just an amazing card that we saw on getting distracted already by the pixelations there. Amazing card that we saw in Vancouver. I mean, I was talking shit about it quite a bit, obviously, leading up to it. I'm just looking up putting up the results on my screen now so I don't mess anything up. But yeah, I was talking mad shit about it for weeks, months really, about probably one of the worst pay-per-views pay-per-view lineup we've had for the last couple years. But I mean, wow. Like, it really might be one of my favorite ones I've ever seen. Truly, and I mean, obviously it has a little bit to do with me being Canadian, of course, but also just the rest of it too. I mean, seeing the Canadians go ended up being, well, technically 5-0, but 6-0 with the addition, of course, of Diana Belbita. I mean, just seeing that over and over, it was amazing to see. A terrible for our bets, of course, which we'll get into right after this. But as a fan of it, I mean, it really was magical to see all these Canadians win over and over again, especially after what we've seen the last couple of years with them just getting dominated every single matchup essentially. So to see that 6-0, I mean, it was just insane. And then not only that, we had the crowd was amazing, which I could not be happier about. I even said it for the last few weeks. I hope that my main hope from watching this, is I just hope that the crowd is good and that they don't get completely screwed over and start, booing and being all quiet and everything. That's just the last thing you want to see, because that's what we saw in Brazil. We had high hopes for Brazil, and then it just tanked. It was one of the worst crowds I've ever seen. So to then come to this, I was getting nervous. I wasn't sure how the crowd was going to be, and it was one of the best crowds I've ever seen. It was amazing. The fights were amazing with the Canadians, especially, but even the non-Canadian, the ones with no Canadians in them were pretty good. And then, of course, you get to Charles Oliveira. That was truly insane. I mean, that was one of the best moments I've ever seen too. Just as a spectator, I would say the entire card was just exactly like, it could not have gone any better, truly. As just as a fan in general too. I mean, yeah, just amazing. How like, really, what could have gone better, really? I mean, the Canadians all won. Then you got Charles, and then you've got Nunes in the main event, just dominated, like truly dominated. Literally, Aldana just got completely swept essentially. And then to see the retirement, which we saw coming. I mean, we've been talking about this for the last month or so. We kind of saw that one coming. So to see that, and then that moment afterwards, they're dancing in the cage, they're having a great time there. The post fight, the conference too after, to listen to all those kind of thoughts from Nunes as well after, and to see Charles, of course, speaking English and having a great time. I mean, I, I don't really know how I could have asked for anything more except for maybe a little profit in there. That would have been nice. But you know what? We'll trade the profit on this one for just having a great time. Having a great time. But yeah, I mean, truly, I just had to say that off the top that I take everything bad I said about this pay-per-view back. It was magic. Honestly, one of my favorite cards I've ever watched start to finish. Amazing, amazing. I'm definitely gonna remember. This is a card that I'm gonna remember forever, for sure. It's just, and I mean, again, I know that it's because I'm Canadian. I know that, but just to see that happen, I mean, it's just, I'm never gonna forget it for sure. Do I regret not going? I mean, I couldn't afford it anyway, so I can't really have any regrets because there was no chance I was going anyway. But if I could have afforded it, I definitely would have gone, and it would have lived up to that. So if you did end up going, I'm jealous because it really was a magical, magical night. So good for you for going. If you, whoever is out there and did end up getting to go, I'm jealous because that was truly amazing. But anyway, enough of that. We'll get into the bets right now. We'll start, of course, talking about that UFC 289. The bets there. I wouldn't say it was disastrous, but it definitely was not great. And of course, that was actually pretty much entirely because of the Canadians. So, but again, I can't be too mad about that just because of me being Canadian. I had to, yeah. I'm happy for them, and it was great to watch, but not great for the pocketbook, as they say here. And then, of course, we'll take a break, and then we will go into this week's card, UFC Vegas 75. I can't believe we're at 75 already. My God. Oh, man. And then, yeah, so we're going to be talking about that card, which I actually think is one of the best betting cards that we've seen in a while. Definitely out of the ones that I've been doing with this is definitely going to be one of the better cards. I've got a really, really good feeling about this. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. I think we're looking good this week. So we will get into this week right now. Of course, the Canadian train started with Diana Belbita and Maria Oliveira. Again, technically, Belbita's not Canadian, but she does train in Canada. I consider her an honorary Canadian. She was included in most of those Canadian parlays and Canadian talks. So, of course, I got to include her. Also, love her so much. I mean, especially seeing her win like that after. I mean, she's clearly so nice, so energetic. We love positive energy like that. Love her so much. Hopefully I get to meet her someday. That would be incredible. Um so I went, sorry to say, Belbita, I did go with Oliveira, but only, and I said this last time, it didn't even matter who it was. I was going to pick the underdog in this case because it was just such a toss up. I had to go with the underdog. And the underdog at my time of betting, which we discussed actually on the show last time, was Maria Oliveira. I took that at minus 105. Actually, I guess the odds don't really matter. She lost, clearly. Clearly she lost. It was kind of close, but Diana Belbita definitely earned the win for sure. I mean, there was no doubt about that. I did go with the under just in case because Belbita's good on the feet. I knew Oliveira, well, at least she seemed like she was going to be pretty good on the ground. So there's always an under chance there. And I mean, it ended up being plus 200. I had to take it. There's no money on going over. So I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about taking either one of those bets. It's just, again, the Canadian magic was in the air. So what can you do? What can you do? Actually, she was even kind of, I think she may have been kind of close to getting a finish at 1.2. So I was even kind of like, oh, okay, we could still get the under here. Either way, no regrets about that. Just, Belbita magic right there. Nothing else there. The next one is where that this one went real south real quick. Dvorak and Urseg. I feel a little bit stupid about this one because I don't know. I think I just had too much faith in Dvorak, honestly, because I've even actually said this before on previous streams, like months ago. On Dvorak's other matchups, I really didn't think he was that great. It's just I thought he was going to be good enough to beat somebody making their debut. That's really all it was. I mean, like if it would have been Dvorak against anybody in the top 15, I would have picked against him for sure. But the only reason I was so confident that Dvorak was going to get it done is because Urseg was making his debut. I looked at Urseg's tape. He did look pretty good, but it wasn't anything crazy. So, I just figured Dvorak should be able to overcome that. And he could not. He did not overcome that. So we lost. I mean, Dvorak fucked me on the parlay. It was, that was he was high on my list on the parlay too, because again, I list everything from A to F normally. He was B. So he was way high up on that list and did not deliver at all. So screwed us on the parlays there. And then of course, in the bets as well. I mean, had Dvorak decision. He just got honestly, it was not even close. Like it was a very clear win for Urseg. And by the way, I have to say, can we have a round of applause for the judging and the reffing in Canada? I was blown away. I was like, oh man, like here we go. Every time the UFC hits the road, we get screwed on decisions, screwed on stupid ref calls. But guess what? I mean, this was the least amount of like refs that I've seen. Like, no, what I mean to say is the least recognizable refs, I should say. I only recognize, we only recognize the refs, two of the refs, and they were only in about 4 or 5 of those fights. So they were in less than half of the fights, I think, and we didn't have any problems. I actually think there could have been some problems, but he handled it really well. I think it was early in there was a bunch of eye pokes and groin shots or something like that. I can't remember what was happening, but I do remember an incident with a Canadian referee, and it was like, oh, I could see this going south real quick because they're not going to handle this properly. But they handled it really well. The ref did, and there were literally no problems with the judges. I was blown away. Truly, there was nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. And that's what I'm saying. It was the perfect card, top to bottom, as a viewer to watch. It was just incredible. Anyway, enough about that. But anyway, so I went for the under there because again, I thought, okay, Dvorak can get a finish pretty easily here, but also Ursa gets almost exclusively submission victories. So I was like, okay, Urseg may be able to get a submission, and that would be how he wins. So I went with the under there. Again, did not cash out. So we went 0-4 for the start. I mean, it doesn't really matter with this kind of system if you start out like that. It happens. It'll happen probably quite often. So I wasn't really worried about it at that point. But yeah, the Dvorak loss did definitely hit us hard for sure. Then it was Nelson and Builder, and this one I actually did cash in on because I never really thought that Builder was all that great. So I did cash in there because I did put money on Nelson being the dog anyway. So that one cashed in. That got us a nice 3.0 units back, of course, because we put 1 unit on every single bet. We've talked about that before, of course. So yeah, we got 3 units back for that, or 3 units total. So technically 2, recovering 2 of the ones that we lost. So that did make up for a little bit. That was great. And of course, I did balance it out last time, I said, with the Builder finish, because that was also plus money. So I mean, if Builder got a finish and I was wrong about Nelson, we still would have made money on top of that. So it wasn't a bad balance out there. So at that point, again, and I remembered this later. I remembered it too late. I think it was honestly because I was getting so excited about about watching the card in Canada, and then the Canadian fighters were starting to do so well that I got really into it, and I was getting so excited. It was so much fun to watch that I forgot to kept I forgot to keep a running tally on the side of what was happening with our bets. So, excuse me, I'll try and quickly add things up as we go just to kind of give you a picture of where we were in the card, how we were doing throughout the entire card, where we kind of dropped off a cliff or where we started to get our money back. So at this point it wasn't too bad. I guess we would have been 3 units back, and we would have been 6 units bet total. So we would have been -3 at that point. So, it's not great, but it's like it's still the start of the card. We're only 3 fights in. It's not a big deal. Yeah. The next fight, I gotta say, I was blown away. This one actually was the Canadian result. Actually, I'm not even gonna say it was the most shocking because it was actually 2 in a row that really I was shocked by, truly. Aori Lang getting blown out of the fucking water like that. I could not believe it. I was as shocked as him because I've never seen anything like this in the UFC, I should say. I've seen some crazy stuff when I'm watching the regional stuff and research, but to see Aori Lang get just destroyed like that and then get back up and think, "Okay, let's get the fight started now." I mean, he didn't even know he had fought. He got so fucked up in less than a minute that when he stood up, he thought the fight was about to start. Like, I mean, that's wild. So, yeah, I mean, and I really did not think Amin Zahabi had much of a chance. I'll be honest, and I said that last time. I thought Aorichi Lang was a pretty clear choice. I thought he was clearly much better going into this. I mean, wow, that was some real Canadian magic, and he really does look like Ariel Helwani. I didn't know that until I saw them obviously on the show together, and I was like, whoa. That is bizarre, and Drake, of course, too. That's wild that they all looked, like, pretty similar. But anyway, yeah, that shocked me. That one was a result that I did not see coming at all. Because even if I think it's close, I've said this before, the system works by if it's close, I go for the underdog. I did not think it was close, so I did not do that. Also, I should say, I do feel stupid that I didn't do an all Canadian parlay. I do usually do some kind of parlay that's longer. Sometimes I pick a theme like that. So I, I can't believe I didn't do it. I really should have. I guess I just didn't do it because I was like, there's absolutely no way this is going to cash in. So I just didn't do it. I didn't want to waste the money, waste the units on it. But I you know what? Actually, if I'm doing the math right, I definitely would have gotten that actually would have covered all the profits. If I would have put half a unit on the Canadian parlay, it actually would have gotten me over that hump to be back in the green. But hey, what can you do? What can you do? Nothing to do now. Anyway, so obviously lost Aori Lang. That's another unit down. But I did go on the under on that one. I thought that was a pretty clear choice. I mean, they've both got a lot of finishes. I thought that was a pretty solid pick, and it was. That was at plus 162 when I took it. So that ended up being 2.62. So at that point, we're 5.5 units um, into it with 8 bets made. So we're making progress. We're only less than 3 units down at that point. We're getting there. We're getting our money slowly back. So again, not worried at that point. It was still looking okay. The next one, though, I will say that one really surprised me too, because like I said, 2 in a row really shocked me. Miranda Maverick and Jasmine Jasdavicius. I, I, I mean, I still cannot believe that she won that easily. Like Jasmine won that easily. I really thought this is out of all the matchups really that I've seen Jasmine have. I mean, I could have seen it in the other ones. She was the underdog in her last few fights, really. I could have seen her win any of those, which she did win most of them. I could have seen all that. But this one, I was like, I don't think she has much of a chance just because the way the styles work out, Miranda is a heavy grappler and so is Jasmine. So I think the best grappler is going to win, which she did. I just got the wrong grappler. I mean, I really could not believe that she just truly, honestly, just walked right through her. I mean, she just dominated her the entire time. I did not see that one coming at all. That was one where I was like, I really don't, I can't see Maverick losing it like that, losing it like this. I mean, she's either going to get a sub or she's going to get a pretty dominant decision. That's what I saw coming. And yeah, more Canadian magic just completely screwed me. That's again, I'm not mad about it. I love Canada, and I actually am a huge fan of Jasmine now too. I mean, I was a fan of Jasmine after her last fight too. Seeing her talk and everything, of course, on the MMA Hour as well. I mean, she's just a lovable person. I mean, how do you not like Jasmine? But I gotta say, I just did not think she had a chance in this one, and we all paid the price for it. I had Maverick decision to bring down the odds. It was a decision, but obviously Jasmine dominated, so we lost that one. I picked the under just in case, like I said, could have gotten the sub. But I mean, also, we almost got a Jasmine finish too. She almost got the finish. So we actually almost did cash in on that anyway. I mean, she was actually pretty close to getting a finish there, I would say. I mean, if you got a lenient ref in there and she just decided to really pour it on, could have had a finish, truly. And that would have been plus 275. So we actually could have actually made all of our money back there. But, it happens. Just did not work out for us that time. Uh yeah. But again, as a viewer, I was pretty happy. Um and then we moved on to Chris Curtis and Nasruddin Imavov. I had to think of his first name because I only write down the last names. Um, I had Curtis, and you know what? I'm kind of glad. I mean, as a viewer and as a Chris Curtis fan, I would have liked to have obviously seen the fight continue and hopefully Curtis would have been able to come back. But I'm not going to lie, it was not looking good. So it probably was for the best for our betting, for our bets that it turned out this way because we got our money back actually. So we got the 2 units back. We got Curtis, that we got the dollar back for that or unit back for that. And the under 2.5. Technically, I thought that actually might have cashed in because it did last less than 2.5. But because it was technically a no contest, doesn't count. So we don't cash in on that. Yeah, that just sucks. I mean, whatever. But we got the money. We got the unit back anyway. I mean, we actually could have gotten an Imavov finish, which would have gotten us money back. We would have actually made a slight profit, even though we picked Curtis. We would have had a zero.2 unit profit on that. So we could have gotten some money back if they counted it as an Imavov finish, but whatever. Just sucks. I mean, there's a couple of fighters, and we're going to be talking about the unluckiest fighter on the planet, I believe, Zhalga Zhumagulov, later after the break in this week's card. But I mean, Chris Curtis is definitely, I would say, a solid second place in terms of the unluckiest. I mean, it is brutal. It is absolutely brutal what this guy's going through. I just can't believe he keeps getting screwed like this constantly. It's unbelievable. Anyway, then we had some more Canadian magic, and this one I did cash in on. That was Barrio Anders. I said Barrio, I think, is just, he's got better cardio and he's a tougher guy. He's a little bit more well-rounded. So I went Barrio decision, and we cashed in big on that one. Yes, we did. That was plus 175. Plus 175 for Barrio decision. That cashed us back 2.75 units, of course. And I did balance it out with the under. So if he would have gotten the finish, we still would have gotten we would have gotten a slight profit as well. But we got a bit more profit this way. So that was nice. We did get that back. And if you do the math on that one, that would be one, two, three, four, five. That's 5 fights times two. Obviously, we would have put 10 units down, and that would be 5.5 plus 2.5. 5.5 plus 2.5. That's 8 plus a little extra. So we were only down about a little less than 2 units. So again, we're making ground. It really was not that bad at that point, which is what I'm saying. I mean, like I got like I mean, I, we lost the ones that we were actually I thought I lost the ones that I was actually pretty confident about, which was Maverick decision, Aorichi Lang. I mean, I was so confident about those and we lost. And still, we're less than 2 units down at this point. So clearly there was a lot that like we still had a very good chance of getting some profit back. I will say though, at that point, the parlays were pretty much dead. Because again, A, B, C, D, A was Ige, B was Dvorak, C was Maverick. So already we lost B and C. So that wasn't looking good already. And as you can imagine, if you lose B and C, that kind of kills all the parlays. It did not kill all of them, but it did kill most of them. So already I knew we were going to be down on the parlays. So that kind of sucked. So I guess really at this point, we were more than that down on in the units, I guess. But anyway, we'll get into the parlays, of course, after we do that at the end, of course. But it still was not looking too bad. It was still looking like, okay, we can still pretty easily get some profit here for sure. Then we had the main card. Actually, that was that part of no, that wasn't. Ooh, was it part of the main card? It was. That was right. That was the first fight on the main card. The second fight on the main card, Dan Ige and Nate Landwehr. This was my sniper pick, of course. Dan Ige. No regrets there whatsoever. I mean, we had 10 full units on a minus 250 Dan Ige, and no regrets whatsoever. That was huge, huge profit. We got 4 units back. This is why I do the sniper pick. Do you get it now? I mean, because if you are extremely confident and there's no way that that person's going to lose, and we've got a great one this week. Oh my goodness, do we have a good one? If you're that confident and there's no way that person's going to lose, really put the money down, and it really does get you the units back to make up for the rest of the card. And that's exactly what happened. Like I said, we got 4 units from him getting getting the win there. Almost had the finish, so we almost cashed in on that. That would have been at plus 130. And then the other bet we had was the over 2.5. I did balance it out with that, but because it was minus 110, didn't quite get us all the money back, of course. That was 1.9 units back. So technically, well, on those 2 bets, we were zero point 0.1 units down. But of course, if you include the sniper pick, we're up 3.9 units. So again, you know, works out pretty well. Oh, and then if you do the math on that, that would be, let's see, what were we at again? I said we were like 1.8. So yeah, I mean, we were 1.8 units down. And after that, we were up. Like we did really well on that one. So yeah, we were up after that. And then it kind of went downhill a little bit from there. But yeah, we were actually up on the bets at that point. So that was really good. We really, really did well on that. Like I said, even though there were a lot of results that I just really did not see coming, and we were still up on the cards at that point. Well, not on the card. You know what I mean. I like the saying, we're up on the cards. Um, then we had Mike Malott, Adam Fugit. And it actually kind of bugs me that people are like, oh, Adam Fugit, he's just not that good. No, like I even said it going into this. If Adam Fugit's really good, which is why I was worried about Mike Malott in this. And it's why I didn't have him up higher on that parlay list, because I was slightly concerned going into this, really. But you know what? Man, that was the most impressive. I would say that was the most impressive Canadian performance, even though we had, of course, the Zahabi quick finish, of course. Oh, actually, no. I think I'm most impressed by Jasmine, to be honest. But this was pretty impressive, I gotta say, because he made it look easy. He really did make Adam Fugit look like a can, but he's not. Like, he's still really good. But just Malat just dominated that. I mean, wow. I was so impressed. But I got screwed on that. I did not put down Malat finish because that was actually still minus money. I didn't want to do that. It was not plus money, so I didn't want to pick it. What I did instead, I picked Malat KO and he got the sub. He got the sub. That was brutal. And it's even more brutal because he actually had a pretty good chance at getting a KO multiple times, including right before that submission. That is how he got the submission. It was a club and sub, as we say. He knocked him down, easily could have gone with a ground and pound finish. We would have cashed that in and we would have been way up at that point. And we would have probably actually, we wouldn't have made a profit on the night, but it would have been pretty close. We would have been very, very close to making profit on the night. Um, did not get it. Did not get it. He got the sub instead because I was at plus 225. I mean, that would have been 3.25 units back. That would have been fantastic. Yeah, we would have ended up at about a little over 2 units down on the night if he would have gotten that KO. So that kind of sucked. I did balance it out with the over. So not only did I lose on the KO, I lost on the over, of course, as well. Brutal. I mean, I probably should have just gone with the straight up finish on that one, but it was so close. It was so close, man. What can you do on that one? That may have been one of the mistakes. That may have been my mistake of the night. There's always one or two mistakes where I'm like, I should have done the other one. But the numbers were on my side. And like I said, he did almost get that KO. So close, so close. But anyway, moving on to Charles do Bronx Oliveira and of course Beneil Dariush. And boom, we cashed in on the Charles Oliveira. Never a doubt. I picked him on Tapology. I picked him last week. I said we can do this. I mean, was I 100% sure? No, I was not sure, but I picked the underdog of this one. And I was really hoping he was going to win. And I did think he had a better chance, which again is why I picked him on Tapology as well. And he made it look easy. Easy. Like I honestly think that may have been Charles's best performance. Like truly, it was so clean, never looked in danger at all, just blew Dariush out of the water, was not even close. Loved every second of it. Loved the walkout. Loved the fight. Loved the celebration. Loved the chat after. Loved the conference after. I mean, you just gotta love our Oliveira. How do you not love Charles? Come on. I mean, yeah. If you don't love Charles, you are not human, and we cannot be friends. So we cashed in big on that. The underdog plus 120. So we got 2.2 back, of course. And I went with the over just in case to balance it out. Obviously, that did not cash in, which means that we did end up zero point 0.2 units profit. So on that one, so we were still looking okay. It was kind of even at that point, but it was actually really the main event that we lost money on. That was where I blew it. I will have to say, oh, where is it here? Me. You blew it. I blew it. Blew it. Double blew it. I did blow the main event. I gotta say, mistake. I just fucked it up. Because I had Aldana. I ended up putting money on Aldana, which I don't actually regret too much putting the money on Aldana just in case. But so we lost the unit there, of course. Then I put money on the over 3.5, which I don't regret actually. Actually, I regret going for the 3.5. I thought of it after and I was like, why did I do that? I should have gone over 4.5 because then it would mean decision. we would have had better money. I mean, I still cashed in actually with plus 120. But I mean, the over 4.5 would have been even more. It would have been I think it was at over plus 200. So I would have cashed in even bigger on that. So it would have brought the numbers up a little bit. But then I blew it. I just had too many bets on this one. So it just wasn't balanced out. I fucked it up. I had Nunez KO on the side there, which again, we did almost cash in. Um, but yeah, I mean, it just wasn't. It was the 3.5. If I would have put 4.5, it would have actually balanced it out to the point where that would have been fine. But then I went even further, and then I put half a unit. I did not put a full unit on this, but I put half a unit on Aldana getting a sub because of what happened with Pena, with Nunez losing like that, and also what I saw. I mean, I honestly think Aldana is better on the ground than she is on the feet. I don't know why people were overlooking that part of her game, but obviously that didn't cash in either. So I think what I should have done is I should have either just, gone with Aldana over 4.5 and then Nunez KO, and it would have worked out better. We would have had the profit. Or I could have gone, you know, like maybe the full unit on over 4.5, then balanced it out with Nunez KO and maybe the sub for half unit for Aldana, and then just forgotten about Aldana the underdog or something. I don't know. There was just better ways to organize that, but I definitely regret the over 3.5, even though that did cash in at 2.2 units back. It wasn't really organized properly, and that is actually where I ended up losing most of that. Because I ended up on that matchup alone. If you do the math on that one, I put 3.5 units into it. That's a mistake. 3.5 units into it. I only got 2.2 back. So that's 1.3 units I lost just on that. That's not good. Like that's just a straight up mistake. I fucked that one up. So, and which is actually half of the losses on that one. So for that top half, that's what I call it because on my page, that's how it shows up. It's the top half is those single bets, and then the bottom half is the parlays. So on those single bets, we ended up being minus 2.83, which again, not terrible considering I lost most of the ones that I was pretty confident about, to be honest. Like I said, the Maverick decision, Aor Chilang, Dvorak, fucking hell. And even the under in the Dvorak one, I thought we were easily going to get that. Any of those. I mean, there were so many ones that I thought we were for sure going to be getting that we did not get. So, and then of course, like I said, I fucked up that last one. That was 1.3. That was half of the losses right there was actually in that Nunez fight. So that was just a bad setup for the main event. Paid the price, literally. Um, yeah, so that was almost minus 3, well, almost 3 units down. Whoops, my screen went black there. For the top half. We'll get into the parlays right now too. This was kind of just the setup of it, really. I just kind of had too much faith, I guess, in the wrong people. A was Ige. We nailed that. I mean, I never had a doubt about that. And even in the fight, I never had a doubt about it. Ige was winning that all night long. So yeah, we cashed in A. And then, like I said, B and C, that was Dvorak and Maverick. That's where I think the mistakes were made. I probably should have had Nunez in, you know, B or C. Probably should have had Malat up there as well. I mean, he, especially with what I saw in the interviews where Malat is like, there's no way I'm losing in Canada. It's like, there's no way. And especially since he hadn't ever really lost. I mean, he just looked so good. So I was like, I really should have put him as B or C, and then probably Nunez. So yeah, I think I just picked the wrong, because normally when I lose parlays, I almost always get A, B, and C right, or I lose one. I lose maybe B or maybe C. So I usually get A, C, D, and then on and on. And then I usually, if I do lose, I end up losing because I lose E, I lose F, sometimes D. But normally it really does work out that way for me, at least, where it's like I get A, B, C, D right, and then I lose E somewhere around there. Usually somewhere around there. This time, I mean, it was the exact opposite. I lost B and C, so I thought we were screwed right away. And I mean, we did definitely lose money on it. We obviously lost the main parlay that was ABC. That's the standard one I have. We also lost the other standard one I have. Oh, which I've called the triple play. I did name them now. The triple play in the article. That's ABC. And the Grand Slam is ACDE. So that's how I'm going to be doing it every single time. Truly. That is how I'm going to be doing it every single time. I'm going to rank everybody A through E out of the people that I like, and then I'm going to put it in that order because it works really, really, with that distribution works really, really well. And it tends to get me the money back, or at least very, very close. Did not work out this time, like I said, because B and C did lose. But so we did lose the triple play in the Grand Slam. Brutal. But we did actually get one of the parlays. That was A, D, and F. That ended up being Ige, Nunez, and Barrio, which did bring us back 1.51 units back. So, because that was at plus 203, which was actually one of the higher parlays that I had, plus 203. So not a total loss on the parlays. It wasn't a clean sweep, a clean loss for us, but it wasn't great. We did get a couple units back though, like I said, and that ended up being -2 units. So we lost 2 on the parlays. If you add that up, that ends up being minus 4.82 on the night. Not great, but I've seen a lot worse and I've had a lot worse myself. But like I said, I mean, that was a fuck up in the main event for me. That was over a unit just on the main event that was just stupid. And then a couple mistakes here and there. But yeah, it was really just the Canadians just really, really showing up. Like I said, as a viewer, loved it. Did not do well for us in the bets because of that though. So that really sucked. But like I said, -4, I mean, or -5. I should really just say -5 if you round it up or round down, I should say. -5, it's not great, but it's not horrible either, and it's fine. And I will say that if we go over here to the results that I've had, I mean, I've had the best I've done I've only been doing this, like I said, for a month, this setup. And out of the 5 UFC events I've done, my best so far, which still wasn't even that great, and it was a small card, was 11 units up. So, I mean, 2 weeks in a row we're down because it was -1.3 last week, -5 this week. But I've gotten 11 units before, and this was looking like a good card. So, I mean, we could easily win it back in 1 week. That is a very reasonable possibility to win back, which is what I say about this entire system is like, unless the sniper pick loses, because if the sniper pick loses, you're in for a rough night, probably. But if the sniper pick wins, really the worst you're going to be doing is, 5, 6 units down, maybe. And if you do fairly well, you're going to end up with 10, 15. Sometimes you could actually have 20 units of profit in some of these nights with the way I set it up. So, I mean, it's definitely plausible for sure that we could easily win it back this week, all of it, and then some easily. It's definitely plausible. But yeah, that was it for UFC 289. I forgot the name of what we were talking about. But yeah, so that was it for UFC 289. Um, not great, but again, it was because of the Canadian Magic, which, like I said, as a viewer, could not be happier. So it made up for all the losses. It really did. I mean, normally, if I saw -5 units at the end of my night, I would be pissed and I'd be thinking about it until today, probably. So, like 3, 4 days later, and I'd still be pissed about it. But you know what? I had so much fun watching that card that I didn't even really care that I was 5 units down. I really didn't give a shit. It was just so much fun to watch. Didn't even care. So that's it for UFC 289. We'll have our short break and we'll get back into it with UFC Vegas 75. So we'll get right back into it after this. I will see you soon.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we're back. UFC Vegas 75. That is Vettori and Cannonier. Had to think about that. It's a longer card this time too. Excuse me. 14 fights, at least as of now. We could lose 1 or 2. Who knows? It has happened quite a bit lately. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, 14 fights. That's great. Great for us because the more fights there are, it really actually does help us out because the longer the cards go, the more that favors this style of betting. Because really, the shorter the card, which is why, actually, nah, I just stop talking about it. But yeah, the more fights that go on, the better, the more potential there is for profit, especially when you consider the parlays. Because of course, there's obviously more chances for parlays. And speaking of parlays, this card is actually fantastic for parlays because I actually think there are a lot of fairly clear picks in this one, to be honest. And the odds are kind of lower because it's not a pay-per-view, so the odds are a little bit lower right now. But I will say there are a lot that are climbing and climbing to that -200 cutoff that I always have. So if you're gonna be betting on the single bets on these picks, you're probably gonna want to get them in soon or before they get over that -200 hump. Excuse me. But yeah, we'll get right into it. So that it's opening up right now, at least with Modestus Bukauskas and Zach Pauga. If this fight would have happened a year ago, I 1000% would be going with Pauga right now. But based on what I've seen, Pauga is definitely nowhere near as good as I thought he was going to be. And Bukauskas is much better than I thought he was going to be. And not only that, I mean, just their styles of fighting, it just is. It's not a style that's going to work out well for Pauga. He's only been clinching people up against the fence, and he said he's going to be doing that every single fight now. And I believe him. I believe that is his strategy going into every fight now. And that's just not something that's going to work against Bukauskas as well, I don't think. I don't think it's going to work as well. That's my opinion. Bukauskas has a lot more power too. I mean, Pauga was also knocked out by Usman. I know that was technically at heavyweight, of course, but Bukauskas does have that kind of power as well. So I'm going Bukauskas on this. I don't know. I got to. I really don't even think it's close enough that I'm gonna just go with the underdog Pauga on this. I really do think that Bukauskas has a much better shot of winning this fight. And if you look at the odds on Bet99, he is minus 189 right now. So he is, like I said, still below that minus 200 cutoff. But you're going to want to get in there soon, or else we're going to have to be going. Probably, I will probably end up going with Bukauskas decision. That is probably where I will end up to lower those odds below the minus 200 mark, just so we're clear at, for next week when I end up saying my picks, none of you are super confused. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be going with. Bukauskas decision, probably, unless actually I can't get the bets in yet because I've got a lot of other betting to do before the UFC. There's like 8 cards this week, so I will definitely be putting my bets in Friday night, which means I will be doing probably the Bukauskas decision. Anyway, and the under 2.5 is where I'm going on this because I'm actually a little bit surprised. Actually, no, I'm not really that surprised. It's favoring the over on this one. So minus 184 for over 2.5. They've got finishes. They've been finished. Let's go with the under. I don't see why not. It's light heavyweight. It can happen pretty easily. Plus 142. I love it. Under 2.5. Let's go. So I think that's looking pretty good for the first matchup. And again, and because this is at minus 189, you can tell like he is a convincing favorite, not just for me, but for other people as well, and the betters, the odds makers as well. So you can see what I'm saying. And there are a lot that are at that minus 189, minus 200, slightly over minus 200 range, which is why I'm saying there is a lot of opportunity for some parlays here for sure. So yeah, anyway, moving on. The next one is, I forget his first name. I know it's not Johnny Lawrence because that's Cobra Kai. Ronnie Lawrence, that's what it is. Ronnie Lawrence and Dan Argueta. I gotta say again, this is kind of like the last one for me. I, I'm fairly confident that Ronnie Lawrence is going to win this one. Minus 189 as well. It's the same as Bukauskas, literally exactly the same. Get the bets in now if you want to cash in on that minus 189. Otherwise, I would not be surprised again if I go with Lawrence decision just to balance it. Well, not balance it out, but get it below that minus 200. And then the exact same thing. I mean, really, it's a carbon copy of what I just said. I'm going with the under again. It's favoring the over. We'll go with the under plus 200, under 2.5. We'll go with that. Yeah, so those first two matchups are literally exactly the same. I'm playing them exactly the same. Hopefully they both work out. But yeah, looking good. The next one, though, is one that I'm very confident about, to be honest. It is Teresa Bleja and what is it, Gabriela Fernandez? What's her first name here? Yes, Gabriela Fernandez. And I gotta say, the striking of Fernandez, very, very good, very, very crisp. But the problem with that is Bleja has a granite chin. I mean, the only reason she got knocked out in that last one, who was that anyway? I think it was Natalia Silva. I will quickly look it up for you on Tapology here. But I did watch it, obviously, rewatch it again. Whoopsie. Teresa Bleja, her last fight was, yes, it was Natalia Silva. I was right. And I mean, we've seen what Natalia Silva can do. And I honestly do believe that Natalia Silva could be a champ someday and very easily will be in the top 10, maybe this year, definitely next year. So, I mean, we've seen how good she is. And Silva was absolutely hammering kicks, elbows, punches right on the chin of Bleja. Like, seriously, would have knocked out anybody else. And she just ate it. This one punch, I swear, it went straight, bam, right down the middle like that. Bledge's head went like that, just ate it. Didn't even react. Her head snapped back completely while she was walking forward. Walking forward into a punch like that. Did not even wobble. Did not get stunned, did not get wobbled, just ate that shit. And the only reason that she got finished at the end was because she went in for a takedown and Natalia Silva spinning back kick and went straight on the chin. Silva wasn't even aiming for the chin. She threw the spinning back kick, hoping to probably hit the stomach of Teresa Bleja. But Bleja, like I said, was going for a takedown at the same time, ran right into the kick, face first into a spinning back kick, got dropped. That was it. That is why she lost. So she can eat a lot. And there is no way that Fernandez is knocking her out like that, because if it took Silva that much to knock her out, there's no way that Fernandez can do that. And the most significant part of that, actually, that fight, was that Teresa Bleja was actually doing pretty well in the grappling against Natalia Silva. And we know Silva also has good grappling and everything as well. So to see Bleja just not really throw her around, but it was it was like, oh, okay, she's got a chance on the ground here for sure. That's saying a lot. And on the other side, Fernandez got just absolutely dominated on the ground. That was actually by Jasmine Jasudavicius. So, I mean, like she got dominated by Jasudavicius with her grappling. I think Bleja is actually a much better, stronger grappler, I should say, than Jasudavicius. And we've seen, obviously, after this Maverick win, how good Jasudavicius really is. But that grappling of Bleja, though, is something else. So I would be shocked if she lost this one, which is why she is going to be in most of the parlays. She will be, I believe I put her at B in my parlays. She is B for Bleja. So well, we'll get into A, but I think it's pretty obvious once I say the odds of it who A is going to be. But B is for Bleja in this case, and we're looking really good at minus 250. And I went to balance these out. I did the exact same thing as before, pretty much. Actually, yeah, it is exactly the same. Bleja decision to balance that out, get it below the minus 250 because she's at minus 250. So we need to get it below the minus 200. We'll go Bleja decision and the under as well. So that's plus 128. So that's plus money. Looking fantastic. And by the way, could still get a Fernandez. That's her name. Yeah. Fernandez KO under 2.5. That would still cash it in. So we'd still get our money that way. Love it. Love that. And by the way, that also does work out for Pauga and Bukowska. So if Pauga somehow lands a Hail Mary, gets the win there, we can still cash in with the under. I don't think Argueta would get a KO, but you never know. But anyway, so that's how I really, really like that one. So Bleja, very confident about that. Got her in the B slot. Then we've got Zhalga Shumagulov, the unluckiest man on the face of this fucking earth. Definitely in the UFC. I mean, it is unbelievable how unlucky this guy gets. I've gone into it before. I've never seen anybody this unlucky. Multiple, and I mean, like, I think 3 split decision losses. I think there was even a bad stoppage in there in one of those in a different fight as well. Got 2 fight cancellations, got the Patty haircut, cancellation on fight day last time. I mean, just brutal. It is unbelievable how unlucky this guy gets, which is why I hate to say it because he's such a nice guy too. I'm betting against him this time. I have to. I've bet on Zhumagulov every fucking time for the last 3 matchups, and I've lost them all because I thought he was going to win them. I really thought he was going to win. Let's see who it was again, just so I'm getting this right. We're going back here. Oh my god, I gotta go back a couple pages here. Zhalga Zhumagulov, where are we at here? Yeah, I had him on all three of these. So I had him on Manel Cop because of the grappling. And by the way, he was actually doing really well against Manel Cop before that happened. Gets finished. It was a little bit of an early stoppage. So that again was where the unlucky part kind of started. Then split decision loss to Jeff Molina. That was garbage. He won that pretty clearly, I would say. Lost to Charles Johnson after that. Split decision loss there. I thought he won that too. So that's two in a row where I lost by picking him in a decision. Unbelievable. And then, like I said, cancellation against Nate Manis. Then late, this is the same card, actually, by the way. Nate Manis canceled. Then there was a late replacement in Rafael Estevam. And on fight day, Estevam canceled on him. So he ended up losing out on the fight. And he is back now 6 weeks later. That is his story. And as for Felipe Bunez, I mean, he does not have the record, I will say. But when you watch this guy, I was like, you know what? I think Jalgus might actually have a problem here. And especially when you consider the fact that he's been getting really unlucky. I think it's a pretty good idea to go with the underdog, especially, you know what? Even like I've said, I mean, this is the whole concept of the system is that if it is close, you go with the underdog. So I think it is pretty close anyway. So we'll go with Bunez anyway. But I will say, I think Bunez has a pretty good chance here. He beat Yuma Horiuchi in the first round last time, LFA. But that wasn't really all that impressive. I mean, whatever, it's a first round finish, uh, but not a big name. Waskar, that was his name. Waskar Cruz, that was a split decision win. And I got to say, I watched that one. That was also an LFA. I watched that and I was like, oh shit. Like both of these guys are really, really good. And I honestly think that Waskar Cruz might be better than Jaga Shumagulov. Excuse me. They're both like it was a really fun fight to watch, actually. And he ended up winning that by split decision. So clearly he's lucky in the split decisions, whereas Jalgus is not. But then if you go down the list here, I mean, he lost to Jussier Formiga, who we also know is very good. If you don't know now, you know. And he had three pretty solid fights in ACA as well. I mean, he's got 3 losses in ACA, which is a very, very solid elite, like top level Russian. I think it's just Eastern European, but I think it's also mostly just Russian promotion. That's where most of these really good guys come from, or they've fought there at some point, is ACA. So he had 3 fights there. Majority decision loss to somebody who was 10-1, Bukuev. Lost to Murad Magomedov, who was undefeated. Lost to Mansur Katuev, who was undefeated. So he's only losing to extremely elite guys. And then now he's going against Jagaju Magulov. He's also a lot younger than him. I don't know. I think he's got a pretty good chance. But either way, I'm probably going into too much detail on this. The fact that it's even remotely close, you have to go with the underdog, which is Bunez on this one. And they're favoring the over, of course. And I gotta say, I kind of agree, actually. I will actually be going. Well, it depends where this ends up. It's minus 180 right now for over 2.5. So if it stays there, if it's close to there, that's not a bad idea. It is below that minus 200 one. They're both in a lot of decisions. It makes a lot of sense. But if it does go over that range, you know what we're going to do. We got to go with the under. And again, that's plausible too. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. But yeah, so that is that one. Love Jalgus. I'm sad to say he might get screwed here, and he's probably going to get cut after that, which really sucks to see. Then we've got an interesting one, actually. It's Dennis Bondar and Carlos Hernandez. I had to check out the other name there. Um, this is interesting because was looking insanely good coming into the UFC. He looked good in his first fight, which I should definitely check that out to see who that was actually against. But then it was just a tragic, tragic turn of events. His opponent never really actually did anything. It was that when he was being taken down, I think he was actually he might have even been going for the takedown, but he put his arm down and it just completely dislocated, looked disgusting. Like, I mean, it was one of those, like, it was like, whoa, shit. Cause his arm was like just dangling. The forearm part, like this part down, was just all dangling. It looked awful. And that was literally, oh, that was actually over a year ago now. So definitely did recover. It was Malcolm Gordon. And he was looking really good. Like, he's got hands. His striking looked incredible, super crisp. The grappling did look incredible until then he got, yeah, that was the problem. Then his arm popped out or broke. Not really, still not really sure. Oh yeah, he got stuck in. That's right. They think what happened was when he got caught in the armbar from Gordon, his arm was weakened. Definitely wasn't broken at that point, but got weakened, maybe got cracked a little bit. And then when he posted up to do that, the force of it either broke the arm or separated it, like popped out or something like that. Um, yeah, I was actually just looking. He actually had a fight scheduled against Ode Osborne too. That was a few months ago that he had that, but it was canceled. Anyway, what was I gonna say? But anyway, so I mean, that was kind of just an unlucky. I mean, I don't even know if you can really call it unlucky because, like I said, it could have been caused by that armbar. Either way, I really do think he's a better choice. I mean, he was looking really slick and really dangerous, and I don't remember thinking Carlos Hernandez was that great. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what it was now. Yeah, Carlos Hernandez, he got quickly submitted, dominated really by Alan Nascimento back in January. I mean, it really was not close. He didn't look great. And it was really because of the ground game. And Bondar has a pretty amazing ground game, and he also has a pretty good striking. So, it's not looking good for Hernandez. And I understand why these odds are so close because they are very close. Minus 132 for Bondar, plus 108 for Hernandez. We haven't seen a lot of Bondar. So I get it. I get it. We haven't seen a lot of him. He possibly broke his arm. I mean, we'll find out. I'm sure on the broadcast they'll talk about it. Seems like he broke his arm. How do you come back after that? But it was over a year ago. He was supposed to fight Ode Osborne, who is way better than Carlos Hernandez. That I know for sure. So if he was prepping for that, I have to imagine that he is more than healthy enough to handle Hernandez on this one. And I haven't been impressed by Hernandez at all. So I think Bondar is actually the very clear choice. And we're getting him at very good odds because we haven't really seen him yet. Or most audiences, I should say, haven't really seen him yet. So I totally understand why these odds are so low. That just means we're getting a good price on him. So I've got Bondar for sure, minus 132. No need to pick any crazy, Bondar decision, Bondar finish. We don't need to do any of that, at least so far. If you take the bet early enough, you should get it in. And even though I'm taking it on Friday night, I can't imagine he would float to a minus 200 or above. I'd be a little surprised by that. So, yeah, I think that's probably what I will be doing. And we will definitely be going for the under on this one for sure because Bondar is a finisher and he's very dangerous. And Hernandez, You know, haven't really seen much greatness from him yet. And who knows? Maybe another crazy thing happens with it, with Bondar's arm being, maybe it's not healed properly yet after that long. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, under plus 140, you got to go for it. No, I was going to say we might be on the main card yet. No, we are not. Definitely not on the main card yet. Like I said, 14 fight card. This is a big one, folks. This one I was really close on. This is Kyung Ho Kong, possibly. Kyung Ho Kong and Christian Quinones. I actually think this is a lot closer than the odds suggest. And because it is so close, I've got to go with the underdog. And right now, that is Kyung Ho Kong. Like Quinones did look pretty good. I'll quickly go into Tapology again just to see what what the last fight was against. But I remember him looking okay, but it was never anything really that crazy. Oh yeah, it was Khalid Taha. I mean, it was honestly just a bullshit stoppage. I mean, it was one of the worst stoppages I've ever seen. Khalid Taha against Christian Quinones in September. That was brutal. It was honestly one of the worst stoppages I've ever seen. It was like, okay, like Taha got dropped, and before Quinones even really followed up with anything, the ref just jumped in and stopped it, and Taha was, shelled up, ready to take the hits, and then, grapple. And he was just looked at the ref like, are you serious? Like, did you just stop this fight right now? It was just awful. And I remember talking about this at the time too, that it was a terrible stoppage. So, I mean, that's a garbage way to win. And other than that, I mean, he hasn't won. Like, that was his first UFC fight. His before that, he got his contract on the Contender Series. Didn't really look like anything crazy there either. And as for Kyung Ho Kong, I mean, he beat Dana. He beat Getty Dana, who I thought was going to be somebody we were going to see in the top 15 pretty soon. So, I mean, to be honest, I actually think Kyung Ho Kong is the right choice on this. I'm going with him all day. Plus 133. And like I said, it's close, so you should go for the underdog anyway. And because of all those finishes, I got to go with the under. And it's actually kind of insane to me that this is favoring the over. I'm actually a little surprised by that. Minus 200. I mean, I just mentioned these finishes. Yeah. Over 2.5 is minus 200. So we'll go for the under 2.5 plus 154. That is what we will be doing. Another underdog that looks okay. I will say I'm not overly convinced by this one on either side, which is why, again, I have to go with the underdog on this one. It's Jimmy Flick and Alessandro Costa. I mean, Costa, his only fight has been against Amir Actually, I don't know if that was his only fight, but the last fight was against Amir Albazi. That was last year. That was actually, like I said, that was Albazi's last fight, which is why I was like, there's no way Albazi's winning this fight against Kai Kara France, which he didn't. But yeah, so I mean, I was not impressed. It's not even that I'm not impressed. Yeah, he got a split decision on the Contender Series. Like, I don't know. Got a split decision on the Contender Series, didn't get the contract. Got one win, a 12-second win outside of the UFC, came back, fought Amir Albazi, lasted until the third round. So clearly he's tough and he is decent, but he was pretty easy to take down and control. So you do not want to get taken down and controlled by Jimmy Flick. You will lose. So to me, I just don't think the styles work out well at all. I think Jimmy the Brick Flick, I think he's actually got a chance at this one because the styles just do not work. It does not match. Costa is not in a good spot here. So yeah, if Jimmy Flick can get a takedown, I think Costa's fucked. So I got I got to put a little bit on him. And like I said, it's close anyway. I mean, I could easily see Jimmy Flick getting knocked out too. So I, I definitely think under is the way to go with this, but they're heavily favoring the under. So I might as well go over. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's what I did to balance this one out. This was one of those scenarios where I think what I'm going to do is you put the underdog, Jimmy Flick, plus 200, and then you go Costa finish just in case he can get the finish because then it's at least below that minus 200 range. Yeah, because I mean, if you go the over, like they both have finishes. I don't know. You know what? Slightly rethinking this. Under 2.5, by the way, is minus 240. That's why I'm thinking you don't want to put money on that. That's stupid. So you either put money on the over or you go Costa finish by then and then go Flick to balance it out. I'm definitely putting money on Flick. That's guaranteed. Plus 200 Flick, cashing that. I mean, we're not, maybe not cashing it in, but we're putting that down for sure. And then, like I said, maybe I think balancing it out with a Costa finish would probably be the right way to go. But over is not a bad idea either. I might have to think about that one. But as it stands, let me see actually. How many decisions and finishes do these guys actually have? Flick is only involved in finishes. Yeah. So I think the way to do with that, like literally, he's never been to a decision. Um, so yeah, I think Costa finish is the way to balance it out on this one. I'm glad I looked that up actually. So that's probably the setup we're going to go with for this matchup. You got to go Jimmy Flick on one side, Costa finish on the other one to balance it out. Then we have got Miles Johns and Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos was looking like one of these guys that, I mean, seriously, could easily be in the top 10, but honestly, I haven't really seen that anymore. I'm not really seeing that anymore. He's getting older. I think people are starting to figure out how he fights. Like, I just don't think he's as good as I thought he was, and I think he's kind of maybe going even downhill a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell. So on this one, he's a big favorite, but I think I might actually have to go with Miles Johns on this one. Johns hasn't really looked great either, but it's close enough where it's like I could see Johns winning this. I really could. So I think I'll be putting money on Johns and then probably the under. And that is under 2.5 is plus 133. Johns is plus 185. I don't know. I really was going back and forth on this one. I might change it. So let's look. Let's take a look at good old Tapology here, see what we're seeing again here. Maybe, I'll just quickly look through it one last time just to make sure. I mean, Barcelo, she is 36, not ancient, but, getting there. Bad loss to Nurmagomedov, but I mean, it's Umar, like I'm okay with that. Beat Trevin Jones, but Trevin Jones really did not look that great. He also wasn't really throwing out a whole lot of offense. Lost to Victor Henry, kind of got dominated there. Lost to Timur Valiev, who is not in the UFC, and we are actually seeing him on not the Contender Series, on Tough, I believe. So yeah, that's not a great loss to have. And then Miles Johns, on the other hand, let's see what we got here. How old is he? 29. So definitely got the age advantage here. Beat Vince Morales. And I think that's where I was like, okay, he's got a pretty good chance here because Vince Morales is kind of solid. He's a decent opponent. Beat him. Lost to Castaneda in the third round. Meh. Couple of finishes. Dos Santos, Natividad. Lost to Mario Batista, which is fine. Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, it is really close when you really look into it. So I've got to go with the underdog on this one, even though I'm not overly convinced by Miles Johns. I've just got to take the stab at the underdog on this one because it is kind of close, and I don't really fully trust Barcelos anymore. I've just been burned one too many times by him. So plus 185 for Miles Johns, I'll go for it. And you definitely got to go with the under plus 133. That is what I've got on that one. The next one after this, I really would. We're on the main card now, by the way. Um, Dalby Salikov. I really wanted to take Salikov because he just seems like he should win this fight. But when you actually look into it and especially watch the tape, I'm not really convinced anymore. I'm really not because Dalby keeps such a high grappling pace constantly. He does not stop. And Salikov, I don't know if he can handle that. I do not know if he can handle that grappling power. That being said, Salikov has striking power, which Dalby does not, but he's also never been finished, I don't think. Anyway, before I say that, I should really check to make sure. But I distinctly remember Dalby had never been finished. Again, we'll quickly look into that just to make sure the reasoning is solid. Yeah, he's never been finished. So already that's a concern because that is how Salikov wins these fights every single time. He gets knockouts. He's not a decision guy. If he goes to a decision, he will lose. That's how Salikov is. So I actually think this might favor Dalby because I don't think Salikov can get a finish. And I think Dalby's going to just outpace him and outgrapple him for the 3 rounds, or at least he can get it for 2 rounds. I don't know. It's going to be close, which is why, again, you got to take the underdog. Plus 154 for Dalby. I'll go for it. I will go for it. The over under, I will put it on I was actually thinking the under just because Salikov has he's always live for a knockout. Yeah, I'll do the under on this one. I was considering the over though, because it is at minus 186 for over. Not bad. It is below that minus 200. But yeah, just on the off chance. And again, it balances it out. That's what we do. Dalby's not going to get a finish. So if Dalby wins, we get plus 154. If Salikov wins, he's probably getting a finish, which means plus 142. We cash that in too. So the likelihood of us cashing in one of these is fairly high, which is what we like because they're both plus money. So I like that actually. I like that. I keep doing that. Fuck. I don't like making the noises. Trying not to make noise. We will go with, like I said, Dalby and under. Looking good. We should be able to cash one of those in. Continuing on with the main card. I'm actually pretty convinced by this next one. It is Torres, I believe Miguel Torres. Is that correct? Let's see here. No, it is not. Manuel Torres. I think Miguel Torres is also from Cobra Kai, possibly. That's funny. That's funny that I said Johnny Lawrence and Miguel Torres in the same card. Anyway, Manuel Torres and Nicholas Mota. Mota has looked like absolute shit this entire time. I don't feel bad about saying that at all. Got dominated and destroyed by Jim Miller. Fair enough, considering what we've seen recently, but also did not look good in his last fight either. And that was against somebody who's not really that great. I will again quickly look this up on Tapology for y'all. Oh, whoops. I clicked on Manuel Torres instead. Nicholas Mota. Oh, yeah. Cameron Van Camp. I mean, he's not good. Like, Van Camp is not really that great. He did get the first round finish over Van Camp, but it was not looking good. I mean, like, Van Camp hit him quite a bit, actually. And Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I just don't like the way the Moto was fighting at all. Whereas Manuel Torres, he absolutely lit up Frank Camacho. Looked super clean, super crisp. The striking skills were honestly unbelievable. So I mean, if Mota's getting knocked out by Jim Miller like that easily, and if he's then kind of struggling with a little bit. I mean, I know he got an early finish against Van Camp, but he did get hit quite a few times by him before that. So I just don't think you can get hit like that. You cannot get hit like that by Manuel Torres. So I think Torres is going to get a fairly easy knockout, to be honest. And he's at minus 184. So this could definitely, I think this actually did end up being one of my parlay opportunities. Let's see here. I did put him in the parlays. He's looking good, minus 184. So he's under that minus 200 for now. So if you get that in, you can get that for sure. And then to balance it out, they are the the bet 99, the odds makers in general, they are heavily favoring the under 1.5. We're not talking under 2.5 here. We're talking under 1.5, and they're favoring that minus 158 for under 1.5. And honestly, I am considering taking it, but I gotta say, when you've got over 1.5 and that's at plus money, plus 122, I mean, how do you not take that? How do you not take an over 1.5 at plus 122? I think you have to. I think I think you're legally binded to take over 1.5 at plus 122, especially when they're not heavyweights. I don't know. I think you have to. But yeah, I really am picking heavily favoring Torres on this one. Continuing on with the main card, it is Sabatini and Lucas Almeida. Sabatini looks good on paper, I will agree, but I honestly don't think he's that great because I rewatched the fights actually just this morning because I did not have time last night. I ended up seeing Spider-Man in theaters, and that was amazing. Great movie. But that also meant that I didn't have time to make all of these picks last night. I did most of the prelims last night and then finish it off this morning. I was going to go over here to see Lucas Almeida to really prove my point. But yeah, Pat Sabatini got absolutely fucking annihilated by Damon Jackson in a little over a minute, just demolished. So that's not a great look either. I mean, Damon Jackson's pretty good, but to get knocked out like that in less than a minute, it was like, or a little over a minute, not great when you're going against Lucas Almeida. And then he beat TJ Laramie. Like, I I mean, I know I don't want to shit on Canadians too much, but TJ Laramie is not great. He's not amazing. So beat him, beat Tucker Lutz, you know, beat Jamal Emmers in a first round finish. Like, okay. Beat another Canadian, Connolly, before that. I mean, where are the good wins in this, you know? On the other side of it, Lucas Almeida beat Mike Trezano, smoked him, beat and that's it. That is it. And he had a decision loss to Daniel Zellhuber, who is very, very good on the Contender Series. I mean, I think he's a live underdog for sure, Almeida. So I think it looks close on paper. I would actually say it favors Almeida on tape anyway. So I've got to go with the underdog on this. Plus 157. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Plus 157. That's what we're going for. Lucas Almeida. The over under is favoring the under right now. I actually don't think the over is really that crazy, but with that many finishes, yeah, I could very much see a finish happening on either side, which means I might actually be going for the under. It's at minus 129. It's really close. So at that point, you could take either one. I'm considering the over, but I think there probably will be a finish. So I would probably do the under on this one, minus 129. That's at a good price, but we'll see. We'll see how I decide to move forward with that one. What did I write down? I did go with the under. Okay. I did go with the under when I was doing it this morning. So that's probably what I'll stick with. We'll see. It depends what the numbers end up at by the end of the week. I can't imagine that it would be a minus 200 on an over under like that quickly, especially on an under like that. I don't think so. So we'll probably get a good price on that as well. Then we've got a very interesting one, actually. Christian Leroy Duncan, Armin Petrosian. I can't wait to watch this, but I will say it's not that I wasn't sure who to pick because I had to go with Christian Leroy Duncan. But I will say it worries me a little bit only because we haven't really seen much of what he can do. I have a little bit more than most people because I watched his Cage Warriors fights. So I know I've seen how good he can be, but I don't know how good he's going to be against somebody, who's been in the UFC for a while, like Petrosian. He's not great, but he's not bad, that's for sure. But yeah, I think just the finishing power and the stand-up skill of Christian Leroy Duncan, I think that is going to win it for him because I haven't been completely impressed by the stand-up game of Armin Petrosian. He was just getting hit too much, and I don't think you can get hit like that against Christian Leroy Duncan. So I'm going Duncan, but I do see why the odds are fairly close on this one. Minus 155 for Duncan right now. I would imagine that's probably where it's going to stay. I don't think it's going to go above that minus 200. So I think that's probably where we're going to land is just straight up on Christian Leroy Duncan and then balance it out with the under, which is at plus 105 right now, under 2.5. I think that's a pretty good way to balance it out, but we'll see again, we'll see where the numbers end up by Friday night. But I think that's where I'll be landing on it. Then we've got my sniper pick. I mean, how in the fuck can you not bet on Arman Sarukian in this? Just in general. I mean, I have never once bet against Arman Sarukian because I know how insanely good he is. I mean, truly, I don't think he has lost, honestly. I mean, he really could have actually gotten that win against Islam, which is insane to say. In Arman Sarukian's debut, he fought Islam Makhachev, and he actually could have won that fight. Then he lost against Mateusz Gamrot, and I actually thought Sarukian won that fight, so that was kind of garbage. And then he's won every other fight, just dominated every other single fight he's ever had. So to me, I think you could even be looking at an undefeated guy here. And if there's anybody in the entire lightweight division that I think is going to be a champ someday, it's Arman Sarukian. Truly, I really do think that he is going to be a champion at some point. I don't know when. It might not be, in the next 5 years, but I really do think that at some point, Petrosian is going to be, not Petrosian, Sarukian. Sarukian is going to be a champ. He is a minus 1100 favorite. Joaquim Silva has not showed any reason why he deserves any kind of matchup like this whatsoever. He gets hit a lot. Even though Sarukian is insanely good on the ground, he actually doesn't have really too many submission wins, and he's got a lot of knockouts. So I think we're going to be seeing a pretty quick knockout for Arman Sarukian. And there is absolutely no way. Like, put your entire life savings on Arman Sarukian. He is not going to be losing this fight. So what I might even do is I might actually bet all of the profits from the rest of the card and put it mid-card just before the fight happens on Sarukian, just to really maximize a couple of units back, just to get a couple of units back on Sarukian here. We'll see. We'll see what I don't know how many units I'm going to end up putting on him, but it's going to be over 10 just so I get 1 unit back because he is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Silva has a 0% chance of winning this fight. 0. There is no way. And the over under is it under 1.5 again, minus 150 for under 1.5. And even though I said in the previous fight that we just talked about, it's plus money for over 1.5. You got to take it. I got to say, I think I actually am going to pick the under 1.5, minus 150 for one of the most lopsided matchup I've seen in months. That's what this is. So, yeah, I would not be surprised at all if this goes under 1.5. That is what I will be doing. And I think I will be balancing it out with Sarukian KO. I thought about doing Sarukian sub because he is that good on the ground, but Silva's been knocked out before. Sarukian has mostly knockouts. I think he's going to go for the knockout here. Could he get the sub? Yes, of course. But we're just trying to pick something that brings the odds down. I'll see. Whatever, maybe I'll even pick the sub because it'll probably have lower odds. I don't know. We'll see what it's like. But I would imagine, honestly, even a Sarukian KO is probably still minus 200 or so. We'll see. I might not even do anything on it because there's really not a whole lot of money in this. And are you going to take a KO at minus 200? You know, when he could easily get a sub as well? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So we'll see what I do with that kind of part of it. But Sarukian sniper pick for sure. No doubt in my mind that that's the case. And we're going to go with the under 1.5 at minus 150, which I really like actually. Who knows? We actually Betway, the other site that I use, has some pretty crazy betting lines that you can bet on sometimes. So because this is the co-main, I might even be able to do like a gone in 60 seconds bet or something like that. I could see one of those cashing in as well. We'll see. Yeah, you can get some pretty good betting lines on there. But anyway, we're talking about Bet99. We'll go back to that now. Main event. This is it, folks. Vettori, Cannonier. It's actually very even on the betting line. Minus 119 for Vettori right now. Minus 105 for Cannonier. That could very easily change throughout the week. And it could also change based on which site you're on. But Bet99 has that right now. And I got to say, I don't know why you would choose against Vettori. Truly, like Cannonier hasn't really looked all that great. Like, I don't know. I just haven't really been all that impressed. He lost to Strickland, and Strickland barely did much of anything. Obviously lost to Izzy, kind of a stalemate, staring contest. And Vittori's way more active. He's a higher pace fighter. He's got grappling, which is way better than Cannonier has. And yeah, I think he's got just a better skill set in general. I think Vittori is the clear choice on this, so I'll take him at whatever the odds are at. I'm not putting him in the parlay though, because there are so many that I was fairly confident about otherwise. So I'm not going to take Vettori in the parlays just because, but I will definitely be taking him in the matchup. As for the over under, it is over 4.5 minus 200 right now. That's the betting line. I am actually considering taking that because I don't know. I just can't imagine either guy getting a finish. I don't know what it is. It's just neither one of these guys ever gets finishes. So why even waste the unit on the under? I don't know. But it is 5 rounds. So when you see 5 rounds under is at plus 154, like you kind of want to take it. I might take it. I haven't really fully decided on it. And like I said, it's minus 200 for over 4.5. Like that's not really a good betting line. I don't know. So I might change the over under part of it. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll probably end up going for the under because it's better money. But yeah, I'm not really sure about that one to be honest. But the matchup definitely Vittori. Definitely Vittori on that one. And that is it. That is it for the entire card. We made it, folks. We made it to the end. And I will quickly go over my parlays as well. As I've said, I give a letter to each of these ones. Sarukian, there's no fucking doubt in my mind. He is A. He is the sniper pick. He is the A slot. So yeah, he will be A. B for Bledja, as I said earlier in the card. I don't think she's gonna lose either. I think she's got a very, very good chance. And C, I've actually got Duncan. I was switching it up between I was considering Bukowskis for C, but I had to go with Duncan because I have a lot more confidence in somebody who's undefeated and somebody who has just a much better shot of winning, I think, and even getting a finish. So I think that's a pretty solid ABC. Sarukian, Bledja, Duncan. I love that. That's a solid ABC. D, I'm going with Bukowskis on this one because I just think he's just way more well-rounded than Pauga. I haven't really been impressed with Pauga since he got in the UFC. I think he's just the better choice. And I mean, again, like, yeah, we're looking at some pretty clear choices, I would say, throughout the card, but yeah, I think I just got to go with Bukowskis here. So that's D. E, I ended up going with Lawrence. Good old Johnny Lawrence. No, Ronnie Lawrence above Argueta. I just don't really. I think Lawrence's style of fighting just suits it a lot better, and he seems like the clearer choice. And again, we're getting down to like D, E, F here. Like these aren't ones that I'm like putting, the immense, immense faith in. These are people that are like, I'm pretty sure they're going to win, but if they don't, it doesn't kill every single parlay. Like, yeah, if Sarukian somehow loses, falls out of the fucking cage and breaks his ankle, like, yeah, we're fucked. But if Bledja loses, yeah, we'd take a hit, but it would still be okay. It's when you start losing two of them that it starts being a problem. But anyway, I'm pretty confident about the ABC. And the ABC parlay is what I like to call the triple play. And that's looking like a great triple play. So yeah, and that is the only the only parlay that we put one unit on. Well, that is one unit parlay. ABC. I love it. Sarukian, Bledja, Duncan. That is my ABC, my triple play this week. My grand slam, because I will cover that first before I get on to the other parlays, because that's what I write about. The grand slam, the four-way parlay, that's ACDE, which is Sarukian, not Bledja, Sarukian, Duncan, Bukowskis, and Lawrence. So that's my grand slam. Which I think the odds of that are going to be, I think we're going to be looking at like plus 300, plus 400 there. So we could get some serious cash on these ones for sure. And remember that is half a unit, and all of the other parlays are half a unit. The only one that is 1 unit is that ABC, the triple play. Will always be 1 unit. And by the way, if you're tuning in, you can the instructions on how to bet this system properly is down below in the description. I usually say this. I should say this at the start too. But yeah, the instructions are down below how to bet these properly. And then it is also in the article as well. And like I said, I will probably end up doing a tutorial eventually, but I will probably say this every single stream. It's like how you bet it is down below in the description. That's it. Ugh. And then the other parlays. So we got 3 more, of course. I'm going to keep the same distribution because It actually really has worked out well for me. Maybe not so well in the UFC on the ones that we've covered, but it has worked out very well for me in the past, and also with, like Bellator, PFL, all of these other cards, LFA that I'm betting on. I use the same distribution and it works really, really well. You would be surprised. So yeah, so I will be using the same distribution, which is ADF. That is Sarukian, Bukowskis, and Torres. That's the ADF parlay. Then we've got BCE, give Sarukian a rest. You got, which is Blaja, Duncan, and Lawrence. That's BCE. And then you've got another four-way parlay, four-legger, ABDF. That is Sarukian, Blaja, Bukowskis, and Torres. And then I always put half a unit on all of them. I always put half a unit on all of them because I actually have cashed that in a few times. And trust me, when you actually do cash it in, it just skyrockets the entire profit of the entire card. And it's not crazy to cash it in either. I mean, I only have to get 6 right. Like, I've done that hundreds of times. So, you know, it's definitely plausible for sure. So yeah, that is it. Those are the parlays. Those are the picks. It's looking good. I actually do feel a lot better about this card compared to the other 2 cards that we've talked about so far. I feel way more confident about this one because there are a lot of good looking underdogs, but there are also a lot of good looking like favorites where it's like people might not think that they're huge favorites, but they should be. And then there's even like people like Bondar, which we've never even given a chance to before because he never got a chance against Malcolm Gordon, but he's very clearly very, very good. And that's another one to cash in on. Like there's so many opportunities on this card. Love it. And I like the way the parlays are looking out. The numbers should actually be pretty low on this one, which is fantastic because there's no real like minus 300, minus 500. There's only Sarukian. Sarukian's the only one that doesn't really necessarily add huge value to anything. Everybody else is pretty close on the bottom there. So I'm loving the way this card looks. Knock on wood, cross your fingers. We'll finally get some profit going and hopefully enough to erase the last 2 weeks, the unfortunate last 2 weeks. So yeah, that is it. Like I said, if you don't understand how I was betting, the strategy is below. If you want to check out any of the other sports, Area 51 has got you covered. I've got all the MMA stuff. All my socials are down below as well. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Yeah, I think that's it. And next week, of course, we will be back with talking about this card. And I don't know where the card is after that. I know it's not. I know it's not in the Apex. Let's see what it is. And then we'll call it a night here. We're looking at Emmett and Topuria, Jacksonville, Florida. That's where it is. Back to Florida. Actually, back to Jacksonville, which wasn't that in January or something? It was close. I feel like we just went there. Anyway, gotta love Florida. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. But gotta love the fighting sports in Florida, the crowd in Florida. And it's on ABC. So that's going to be a good card. That's what we'll be talking about next time. Then, of course, we're back at the Apex. And then it's International Fight Week after that. My God. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for that International Fight Week card. There is a lot of money to be made on that card. I can smell it already. You got Bo fucking Nickel. That is by far going to be my number one choice. Then a solid B is you got to put money on Volkanovski. I mean, come on. Then you got Pantoja in the co-main. To be honest, I think Pantoja's got a pretty good chance. So yeah, there's a lot of good money to be made on that International Fight Week card. Cannot wait for that, but we've got a few weeks ahead before that. Anyway, so yeah, Vittori, Cannonier. Can't wait to watch the card. It's a long card. It's a good card. Looks like there's some profit to be made here. Cannot wait. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.